About 2 years ago, I founded an organization, ICARE, Interfaith Coalition of Advocates for Reentry and Employment. The organization's primary work is legislative advocacy, and so I can build off of some of the previous presentation in terms of talking about how to do that and what some of the political dynamics in New York State are and what they're about. And then my work is to go out and to speak to communities, and particularly to go into faith communities that may know but usually do not know very much of what's happening, and certainly don't know the larger political context. So I want to just mention what that context is. Much of what we've talked about today is the reality that a lot of politicians want to keep people in prison. That's something that is a reality. In New York State, we have 70 prisons, and 68% of them are upstate and Republican districts. Now, in New York State, as you may know from reading different newspapers, there is a real population drain happening. In fact, 30% of upstate prison growth is people in prison who are obviously sent there involuntarily. And when they're in those political districts, for instance, senatorial districts, they count as members of those districts, even though they can't vote. People in New York State who are in prison or on parole can't vote, but they're still counted as members of those districts. And so what that means is that these politicians not only get federal resources, but they keep district boundaries in a certain way so that they're able to continue to maintain a certain kind of political power within the state Senate. Right now, there are 7 senatorial districts in upstate New York that do not have enough people in them without people in prison. One of those senatorial districts has a senator who's the chair of the Codes Committee, a very powerful position within the state legislature. That senator, Dale Volcker, also sits on the Crime Victims, Crime and Corrections Committee. Another senator who does not have enough people in his district without people in prison is the chair of the Crime Victims, Crime and Corrections Committee, Michael Nozzolio. Michael Nozzolio also sits on the Codes Committee. So you see how power is consolidated. Now, if they were to not count people within those districts as part of their district populations, the boundaries would change. They wouldn't have as many senatorial districts, and it's very clear that Democrats would take the majority, which means Democrats would chair the committees, which means it's much easier to get certain kinds of legislation. And I'm not saying Democrats are all that much better, but there are certain Democrats who are better, and they have a certain kind of political power.